So I actually used to live in the Sloan Lake neighborhood. I was in a really cool little pocket of homes called East Bay. It's right basically dead smack in the middle of where the Sloan Lake is and also where the Broncos' current stadium is, known as Empower Field. So literally right between the two was this East Bay community that I spent about 4 years. And I loved this part of Denver. And that's why I wanted to just kick it off with number one and share with you guys this one first. This is an area that a lot of people decide to at least have on their list when they're searching for homes. And a couple things that I'm gonna share with you guys, I'm gonna get into that in a second. But before I do, I just wanna make one little quick note here. With Sloan Lake and West Highland, these are areas that I've seen change so much over the last decade, maybe even 15 years. So I went to school at Wheat Ridge, which is a little bit west of where West Highlands and Sloan Lake is. It's only about a 10 to 15 minute drive from where I grew up as a child in the Wheat Ridge neighborhood, a little bit further west. And I've seen this area completely transform since I was a kid. And we're talking all kinds of improvements, changes of just the type of homes and demographics and the type of neighborhoods that are being redeveloped. You know, these old 1900s bungalows that have existed literally for over 100 years in a lot of cases. A lot of these have kind of slowly transitioned into a lot more modern style homes. Now, the one thing about this part of Sloan Lake and West Highland is because of the incredible popularity for so long, it really was, I think, overinflated and became out of reach for so many people that were considering moving here or people that already did and just chose this as the place they wanted to kind of plant their feet and be located in. So we're going to talk again about a lot more in depth on all 6 of these neighborhoods. But the way I'm going to do this video is I'm actually going to break it down where I'm going to share the same consistent 6 pieces of information on all of these different areas. That way we can really, at the end of the video, conclude it with comparing them side by side and giving you the opportunity to really make an informed and correct decision, at least to narrow it down a little bit more when you do decide to hopefully come out and start looking at different areas around Denver, Colorado. All right, so first of these 6 categories about Sloan Lake and West Highlands is going to be the location. So looking at it on a map, you can see that Sloan Lake is barely to the west of downtown Denver. In fact, a lot of people that live in this part of Sloan Lake and West Highlands can even walk or ride their bike to commute to work if they are working downtown. So great walkability when it comes to access to downtown Denver, as well as access to all the great shops and restaurants and just a ton of local community type businesses in this entire surrounding area. It's also just a little bit to the east of Wheat Ridge, which, as I said, is where I spent a lot of my childhood growing up. I really like this location because you also have immediate direct access to 2 of the biggest highways in the entire city and state, which is going to be I-70, which you can hop right on from this area and get straight out to the western slope and up to the mountains. In fact, you even have a little bit of a jump start compared to a lot of other parts of town. And then you also have I-25, which is just running directly parallel with Sloan Lake and West Highlands, and literally one of the best easy accesses to the highway if you are needing to commute either up north, maybe to places like Thornton or Northglenn or Westminster, or maybe you need to hop on I-25 and head down south to places like Littleton or maybe even further south like Colorado Springs. Now, when it comes to home styles, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, there's a lot of old historic homes in this part of Denver. Lots of those 1900 bungalows, lots of mid-century modern homes as well. Now, today, we still have a lot of that, but you also see so many of these homes that have been dramatically improved, renovated from top to bottom, in some cases even scraped. And one little side note, one thing that's interesting is that in this part of Denver, a lot of the homes had an old grandfathered in zoning where instead of what they call R1, meaning there's one residential property allowed on that land, a lot of these are actually R2. So what happened about 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when this area really started to blow up, what happened was a lot of really savvy investors realized this, and they would find dilapidated old single family homes, some of these bungalows that were just past the point of being able to really be improved. And what they would do is they'd scrape it and then actually rezone it where there would be 2 homes on this property. This could either be like a duplex, or in a lot of cases, you'll see these townhomes. Townhomes are a higher end version where basically you have that party wall, one shared wall between the 2 units, but much nicer. You know, a lot of these duplexes, a lot of these townhomes in Sloan Lake and West Highland are selling for well over $1 million. I've even seen some that are closer to $2 million just for that one part of the home, just that one side. So as you can imagine, very, very high price points in this area, but also a lot of others that are still, you know, a little bit more of the mid-range price points for Denver currently here in 2026. Now, when it comes to lifestyle and amenities, which is our third point about Sloan Lake and Highlands, What I love about this is it's probably the best walkability of any of the 6 areas I'm gonna be sharing with you guys today. When I lived over there, I loved it because I could literally walk out my front door and hit the Sloan Lake Park, take a lap around the lake with my dog Charlie, and literally don't have to ever get in your car, don't have to waste time, which is so valuable these days, to maybe drive for 20 minutes to Cherry Creek Reservoir or maybe Chatfield, where you have these other great parks, but requires a little bit of commitment and time just to get there. When you live in areas like Sloan Lake and Highlands, what I love is you're able to just immediately walk out your door and access these great parts of town. Some of the best in the entire state, in my opinion. Now, when it comes to why locals like myself love this specific area, there's a few reasons, but definitely without a doubt, number one is just, again, going to be the walkability and how much is crammed into this pretty minimal sized area. I'm talking restaurants, parks, lots of great nightlife and bars, and just that immediate direct access to downtown Denver, which literally could be under 10 minutes if you got your bike handy. So really, really good location. I think that's one of the main reasons why locals continue to choose this as a place to live. And one last thing that I'll share, if you are a big sports fan, having the Broncos Stadium, at least where it currently is located, there is going to be a change of location here in about 5 years, in about 2030. But right now, what I love is how you have literally within a 5-minute walk, one of the best stadiums in the state, and tons of great, not only Broncos games, but also concerts and lots of other activities and events that happen at the stadium. So having that within walking distance, it's pretty hard to beat. Now let's just shift gears and talk about the 2026, where I think are some buyer insights if this is an area that's interesting you. First and foremost, this does seem to be an area that still attracts a little bit younger of a demographic. I'd say a lot of young professionals that at least have enough of a salary where they can afford a little bit higher priced home. And then the other buyer insight that I'll share is just the fact, kind of like what the zoning that I talked about earlier, because this area has become so popular, there's a lot of areas in this vicinity that have higher density zoning. So there's areas like Jefferson Park, for example, that's right next to Sloan Lake and West Highlands that have a very dense part of Denver where you'll see a lot of apartments, townhomes, but with a lot more density. And then last but not least, really quick, just sharing a little bit about a reality check. So when I put reality check into these videos, what I'm referring to is just maybe areas that are a little bit controversial or things that you really want to think through if this is an area that you're highly considering checking out. So with the reality check for Sloan Lake, first off, I want to talk about parking. Depending on what street you're located on, some of these are in very older neighborhoods. And these older neighborhoods, when they were built, they had a lot shorter, narrower roads where if you have, for example, friends parking on the street in front of your house, and a lot of other people are doing the same thing, these streets get pretty narrow, and sometimes it's even hard to get 2 cars to pass each other without having to have one person stop and kind of pull over to the side. You know, there's different areas around Denver that have this worse than others. I don't think it's horrible in Sloan Lake and Highlands, but it is bad enough, or at least enough of an issue where if that's something that kind of, is a little bit of a sticking point and kind of grinds your gears a little bit, I would just implore you to maybe look at certain parts of Sloan Lake and Highlands where you don't have to deal with this quite as much.